Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 10 times Mortal Kombat had to be censored for reasons beyond the meat. Sounds wrong, but that's the truth. Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. So real, it makes you sweat. By this point, if you know anything about Mortal Kombat, you'll know of the tumultuous debate among parents in the 90s about video games invoking violence. Mortal Kombat's then realistic visuals frightened Nintendo's bank account and policies. Back in those days, Nintendo enforced a strict family-friendly policy. So, if Mortal Kombat wanted to be on SNES, it had to tone down the violence. And Midway did so by removing finishing moves completely and coloring the blood gray. Despite this, a Game Genie easily allowed players to bypass this with a code and revert the blood back to its true colors. It's whatever though, the SNES version sucks anyways. Why would you even play that?
Liu Kang wins.
Alien Combat. Abysmal sales of the original Mortal Kombat's shoddy SNES port didn't discourage development for MK2's SNES port. Funnily enough, it actually prompted Nintendo to give Scorpion and Foes a pass this time around, meaning MK2 would be completely uncensored on SNES, except if you lived in Japan.
Finish him.
Japanese players were given a version where the blood was given a green recolor, making it seem like everybody was Reptile in disguise, or just straight up a xenomorph or predator. Odd considering the CERO, Japanese Ratings Board, hadn't been formed yet. Perhaps this was something enforced by Nintendo HQ instead of Nintendo of America this time? Too violent for pockets. Yeah, can you believe Mortal Kombat was ported to Game Boy? I mean, look at this. What even is this? Obviously, none of the Mortal Kombat Game Boy games paled in comparison to even the home console versions. Case in point, the finishing moves, we know what they're called, but we can't say their actual names. Call it a form of censorship or call it a simple case of technical limitations in showing a spine, the finishers they did include still fail to capture the brutality that Mortal Kombat was bringing in other platforms. Again though, was this really where anyone wanted to play these games? Just look at this! How is this playable for anybody? Ain't that the pits? Okay, we've been ripping on Nintendo quite a bit in this video, but don't worry, Sega, your time has come. The Genesis version of Mortal Kombat went through a small bit of censorship as well, and we all seem to forget that. Admittedly, it was not as big of a change as anything we had seen on SNES, but even so, why change the pits? The pits is the coolest stage in the entire game. Without the blood and all the bodies lying around, it's just a dumb little forest of spikes that look like they couldn't even chop celery. What is this, man? Again with the pockets! At least the Game Gear version had some finishing moves, but once again, Mortal Kombat's handheld counterparts failed to capture any of the spirit of the console and arcade versions. Many finishers were heavily altered for the Game Gear version of MK2. The sprite work is so awful that most of the time, your enemy looks like a jumble of pixels, if not a shoddy animation of bones flying everywhere. It winds up making the game more cartoony than it should be, not that we expect something completely realistic from something as absurd as Mortal Kombat, but just saying. Mortal Kombat BYT before YouTube. You know how we're not allowed to call Mortal Kombat's finishing moves by their actual names? Well, there was a time where Mortal Kombat wasn't allowed to call them that either. Let us backtrack to the SNES days of the first game. Not only did Nintendo restrict the color of blood, they also had some of the language changed.
Finish him.
Now you performed finishing bonuses, and the death of Shang Tsung was now known as, quote, the destruction of Shang Tsung. Mommy YouTube would have been very proud had it shown up roughly a decade earlier. Miss Bellision! The first and second Mortal Kombat games were not the only ones of Mortal Kombat's first decade to have their finishers completely removed. MK4 saw every single finisher cut from the game. This is because Germany does not view video games as anything more than a children's toy. So for a game like Mortal Kombat to show so much gore, even by N64 standards, it wouldn't sit well with most folks over there. ESRB's wrath continues. The biggest complaint everyone makes about MK vs. DC is how the finishers are nowhere close to the brutal nature we'd expect in a game with Mortal Kombat characters. However, there are two finishing moves that were specifically altered here in the West, one of Deathstroke's and one of Joker's.
The Joker wins. Flawless victory.
The finishers both involve a gun being fired with the camera zooming in before the trigger is pulled. Both were censored as a means to keep the game T for teen. Everywhere else, the finishers were completely unaltered. Even uncensored, they are just as unsatisfying as the others.
The Joker wins.
Nerf or nothing. MK11 had some particularly gruesome finishers. You would think almost half of them were bound to get censored in some way, right? Well, none of them did. It was actually the ladies of Mortal Kombat that had to get nerfed.
You cast a hell of a spell on Kotal.
He respects my fighting spirit.
Alrighty then.
While North America got to see Kitana, Milena, Sindel, Sonya, Cassie, and Scarlet as NRS intended, the rest of the world wasn't having it. Every woman in MK11 had their cleavage nerfed, and some even had to be covered. Guess some regions felt it was skirting the line of dead or alive.
Kitana wins.
Showing chunks. Shaolin Monks is one of the most savage beat-em-ups you can play. However, the viscera and gore went a little overboard for Germany. There is quite a laundry list of changes that were made just for Shaolin Monks to release there. Several scenes had blood removed entirely, and just about any instance of dismemberment or some visual of limbs and organs were blurred out or completely cut. As we said earlier, Germany still views video games as toys for children, so the censorship here isn't all that surprising given what went down with MK4.
Why have you come to the wasteland?
To rescue his girlfriend.
For the last time, she is not my girlfriend.
Did any of these moments of censorship surprise you? Let us know down in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.
The Black Dragon, live on!
The Black Dragon died with Kano. You're the last one, Jarek.
Never!
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.